morning, fellow YouTubers. Bill Johnny 4 here with a video today, and today I'll be doing a documentary on the Sea Rail, aka New South Wales Trainslink, and the first set I'll be doing is the V set, aka the intercity train, which operate on the main western line to Lithgow and the main northern line to Hamilton. They call the main western line aka the Blue Mountains line, and yeah, so they started entering service in the 1970s. They looked a bit different back then, but they pretty much looked the same. The same shape, for the entire fleet, but there have been changes, engine changes, bit of an interior design sort of change. They've been, modified. So the order and contract. I'm reading this off the internet. I don't know exactly everything about the trains, but I thought I might put this together because I'm into trains. I like trains, so I thought if I put this together, it's not going to be the best video in the world. But if I trying to put something together, hopefully you guys enjoy. So they were manufactured by Comenge, and they were built in Sydney and Granville between 1970 to 1989. Number of units built 246. Formation were in 4 carriage sets, but they can be coupled 2 4-car sets to 8 cars, and also there were 2 car sets in the 90s. I think it was in the 90s and early 2000s. Had 2 car sets that operated from Wyong to St Mary's. They did suburban runs, I think, but they got replaced fairly quickly. So Series 1 entered in 1970. They were known. These were the car numbers. So they were DCF 801 to DCF 808. There was 8 of them brought into service. Then there was DDC 9001 to 9004. So there was 4 cars of them in service. Then there was DTF 9011, DTF 9012. Just 2 of them. Then there was DTC 9021 and DTC 9022, which was another 2 of them. So they were the first batch of cars, which, so I'll get into more detail about now. So I'll get into more detail about each series and what came to them, but I'm just telling you the car numbers. So Series 2 is the 1977 batch, which was DCM 8021 to DCM 8036. So there were 16 of them cars into service. Then you got DCT 9031 to DCT 9044, which is 14 cars. I think they were just normal driving trailer cars. I don't think they were I don't know how to say it. But yeah, that was Series 2 cars. So here we go. This is Series 3 from the 1982 batch. So this is DIM 8037 to DIM 8052. And then you got DIT 9101 to DIT 9114, which was 14 of them cars. And there were the trailer cars. And then there was another DIM 8053 to DIM 8066, which was another batch, so another 16 of them in service. Then you got the Series 4 cars, which are pretty much the same as Series 3 cars, but there is different changes, which I'll get through as I finish reading through this. So Series 4 had DIM 8069 and DIM 8092, which are 24 cars entering service. And there was DIT 9115 to DIT 9138, so another 24 of them cars as well came in with the trailers. So if you half them, that's about an extra 12 sets in service. Series 5, well, this is the change where chopper control came into the sets, which is Series 5. So it started with DJM 1893 to DJM 8108. So 16 of them cars entered service. Then there was another 16 DIT cars from 9139 to 9154. So that was another 8 sets into service during that year. And then Series 6 was DJM 8109 to DJM 8123, so that's 15 sets. Then DIT 9155 to DIT 9169, so there was another 15 sets. So, well, not 15 sets, but another 15 cars, sorry. Then Series 6 was DJM 8109 to DJM 8123, so another 15 cars. And DIT 9155, DIT 9161, so that's another 15 of them. Excuse me. And then Series 7 is the final of the DJM cars into service. So DJM 8124 to DJM 8138, so another 15 of them cars. DIT 9170 to DIT 9184, another 15 of them cars. Okay, sorry about that. I just had a bit of a recorded phone call. So, where were we? So, Series 8 is the final series. Everyone knows Series 8 to be the DK Series V sets, everyone call them. So, instead of DKM 8139, DKM 8 to 8145, so 7 cars. There's DKT 9185 to DKT 9191, so that was 7 cars. So really, there was 14 cars that you could have had. So they would have been able to form 7 sets of these DK series altogether. So 7 of them. Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if Series 6, Series 7 DJM cards got mixed together. But all the combinations have changed now. As you can tell, it's from V1 to V51. Used to go up to about, I think, V96, maybe 97. I'm not exactly sure, but leave the comment down in the description if you know. Now I'm going to get into detail about each series of trains and what the difference was, what the features were in this documentary. So in July 1968, the New South Wales government, back then, placed an order for the first 16 cars, and at the time they were known as Commonwealth Engineering. The first 4 cars debuted on the Sydney to Gosford route on the 22nd of June 1970. Target is F111. In all, 16 cars were in operation by September 1970. So that was Series 1 V-set cars, or aka back then known as the U-set cars. So they didn't have vacuum toilets in the first Series 1 car. Like, trying to put on the show for you guys too. So these cars had many similar features to the later built cars, including the one-piece moulded glass reinforced plastic end in the royal blue and grey livery. Some of the early S-sets were in this livery as well, so you know, earning them the Blue Goose nickname. Had semi-automatic doors, which were in all the V-sets. Electronic controlled brakes, double glazed windows, which I believe are pretty much in all the V-sets. They had a different style of headlight and interior lighting to subsequent builds. Honestly, I've never seen the interior of these sets. the original interior, so I'm not exactly sure what the original interior lighting or layout was. I'd say it was similar, but there was a bit of differences in them. I've seen the front end of one with the headlights, a bit different. I like the headlight design on them. Looks very nice, very different. I wish all the V-sets carried that design. So there were 8 power cars, which were, like I said before, DCF 801 to 808. They're known as the economy class. Back when these trains entered service, you had economy class, you had first class, and I think there was a smoking section too on them at one point. So the 4 driving trailer cars, DDC 9001 to 9004, first class upper deck, economy class other seats. 4 trailer cars with DTF 9011, and DTF 9012, economy class DCT 9021, 9022 were first class upper deck and economy class other seats. They're pretty much the top level of some of the sets. Back then we had first class, so for the business people, I'd say. The configuration of these cars were unsuccessful. So, just so you know, V-set fans, I'm a V-set fan and stuff like that, these are my favourite sets in service. The early V-sets weren't that successful. But the cars were fitted with AEI equipment, and electrical equipment was split between the power and trailer car. Cables were not able to provide the power needed to operate on the train as proposed. Because back then these trains were replacing the U-boat, so these trains had these V sets, or aka U sets. Back when these Series 1 V sets entered service, they had air conditioning, more lighting. They were faster. Back in this point when they entered service, these were the best trains in the world, people. These were some of the best trains in the world. They're probably not now because they've been entering service since the 70s, so they're almost over 40 years old, getting close. Some of them. Well, the oldest ones, I wouldn't say are not really in service anymore. But so the cables are blah blah blah. This resulted in many failures of the train to operate, and also failures in the air conditioning system. So the air conditioning was very faulty, which I've heard in the Tangarage as well. One class travel was introduced in September 1974, so the seating was all economy class. This led to the refurbishment of the DTIU sets, with the original luggage rugs above the seating in the single deck section being removed. During this time, the sets were targeted as U sets, as I said before. The plates used on the single deck interurbans. So they replaced some of the U sets. I believe some of the U sets went to I think they moved to the South Coast line. I don't think they did actually, because I don't think they got electrified to like early 2000s. They moved around and did. I think some did suburban services as well. I think. I don't know. Well, unless they just withdraw some of them. But we'll get to the video. I'll try and do a video on the U sets as well for you guys. So yeah. So in the early 80s, it was decided to convert these to trailer cars. Hence, 16 power cars were ordered with no matching trailers. Between March and December 1982, the cars were rewired at the L car workshops, and the driving compartments removed and replaced by passenger toilets and luggage spaces. The reinforced plastic ends remain about with the blue removed. And yes, I have seen a few videos with these refurbished into trailer cars. There is an episode, I believe, of Home and Away in the early to mid 90s, which had a V set in at Hawkesbury River, and I believe one of the had a Series 1 car on that set. So you know, and I've watched a vlog on YouTube with a couple V sets with the Series 1 cars as trailer cars in some of the sets. So yeah, the cars were renumbered. So DCF 8001 to DCF 8008 were renumbered to DTM 9201 to DMT, sorry, 9201 to 9207. 7 cars remain after writing off DCF 8004. DTC 9001 to 9004 was renamed DDT 9208 to 9211. DTF and DTC were renumbered to DFT 9212 to 9215. In 2002, these sets were withdrawn and scrapped following the discovery of rust in the steel underframes, which I'll get into. Now, the second match was the batch that made the V set the V set. So this 1977 batch was what made the V set one of the best trains, most loved trains in City Rail history, I'd say, or City Rail Trainlink history, however you want to put it. So from October 1977, the second batch began to enter service with many differences from the first batch. Electrical equipment was mounted on the power car using Mitsubishi electric equipment. They had stainless steel underframes, were fitted with vacuum retention toilets. So you'll see some differences now coming into the VSET fleet, and had gold as opposed to green tinted windows. These cars were the first of the VSETs, with the VSET showing that they were installed with vacuum toilets. That's why the VSETs are known as VSETs, because of the vacuum toilets. They operate separately from the 1970 cars, as the two types were not compatible with each other. The cars built were DCM, 8121, 8036, as I'm repeating myself, DCT, which I said before. And the driving trailers were not used that much due to driver complaints about the uncomfortable kick when the power car started to push the trailer. The controls in the DCTs were gradually stripped and replaced defective ones on the DCMs. In 1990, DCT 9034 was refurbished by City Rail as a lounge car with lounge chairs and a kitchen for use as a charter car named Contour. And everyone knows that set is on V2. It's running in the current day, which I'll get into. It wasn't a success and was converted back to normal specifications. During the City Deck refurbishment carried out by A. Gowenin and Co. in the 1990s, DCT 9031 to DCT 9036 had their driver controls reinstated and were recoded as DTDs, allowing City Rail to introduce the River, a two-car service from Wyong to St Mary's, as I said earlier. At the same time, the DCMs were refurbished, receiving destination indicators, ditch lights. The refurbishment also saw the installation of air conditioning in the driver cabs of the DCM. The lack of air conditioning had a union ban preventing from being used as leading cars since 1995. DCM 8032 8036 were modified to have wheelchair seating and recoded at DTMs. In DCMs, they had the destination indicators eventually had them removed and replaced with metal blanking paints after the decision not to use them on inter-urban services. Some were withdrawn in 2011. There's only one set left, which is on V21, which is the oldest V set in service. This current day. I'm not exactly sure what the set is, but hopefully I'll find that website. Hopefully I can find that website and put it in the description down below of all the sets that are in service, so you guys can have a look. Now the third batch, this is quite an interesting batch because this is improvements on from the DIM and DIT, well, DIM cars. I find there's two series of DIM cars. There's the series, the first early series, which is based off the DCM cars, and then you got the ones that pretty much that phase out for the sort of design specifications of the DJM cars. Okay, so from May 1981, DIM power cars and DIT trailers started to be delivered, These cars had increased seating compared with the DC series, up from 88 to 96 for the power cars and from 92 to 112 for the trailers. So for the trailer cars, so that means you can fit more people in. The power cars were DIM 8037 to DIM 90 to DIM 8092, DIT 9101 to DIT 1984. The DIT cars came through during the DIM cars and the DJM cars. So, and here's the interesting: DIM 8037 to 8068 were the last cars to be delivered with the blue goose molded fiberglass ends, cream and wood veneer interiors, and green seats. Then DIM 8069 to 8092 were built with a white molded fiberglass end incorporating the State Rail Authority's corporate colours of red, orange and yellow. Yellow interiors, newer air conditioning technology and ditch lights. So the early DIMs did not come with ditch lights. So that's pretty much the differences. They came with the Series 2 DIMs. I used to call them Series 1 DIMs and Series 2 DIMs. The Series 2 came with ditch lights, which pretty much had the design for the DJM cars. And they can be extinguished by the different grille cover on the V-sets. And I will put some pictures in the end for you to have a look at the different V-sets over time. So yeah, DJM. Advancements in technology saw a thruster chopper system fitted to the next batch of power cars. They were coded as DJM. Chopper cars gave a smoother and quieter ride. Chopper cars can be extinguished from the early camshaft cars by a large open grille at the pantograph end of the power car, and by different hatch coverings over the driver's side of the power car. DJM 8123 to DJM 8137 had even larger open grilles on the pantograph end. DJM 8101 had its candy livery molded fiberglass and repainted into City Rail blue and yellow in the 1990s to form a special set with the commemorative wording celebrating 20 years of double-deck intercity services to Gosford. Applied near the driver's cab window. In 2009, DJM 8101's front was repainted into the standard intercity livery. But I wish they'd do it. So I'm guessing they should be due for another special redesign set, to do a special trip to Gosford to celebrate that, but I don't think that'll happen. I reckon they'll keep one set in service. If they do plan to get rid of them all, I'll keep one set, because I'm assuming when they go to phase mode, because they're going to need the V-sets operating on the Blue Mountains, depending on the size of these new intercity trains. If they're like the Oscars, sort of a bit wider, they're going to have a couple of V-sets running while the tunnels are getting upgraded, I'd say. So the final batch is the DKM and DKT cars. The final V-sets were introduced in 1989. They were the last carriages to be built by Comanche Granville factory. These sets were coded DKM and DKT and are permanently coupled. There were several changes. The cars were finished in corrugated steel instead of the previous inserted bud fluting. Seating had separate seat backs. Instead of the push-pull doors inside the previous V-sets, the DKs were fitted with electronically open vestibule door, and no door was installed at the gangway. The State Rail Authority wanted to order an extra 50, but funding was not available. Imagine if there was an extra 50 DK Series V-sets in service. Then I reckon if that happened, right, I reckon there would have been at least, in my opinion. So I'm going to put your name out here, Transport for New South Wales Vlogs. I reckon the assets will be gone now. Because the Oscars was really, you wouldn't need about 50 Oscars. I don't think you would have needed the Oscars really in service, to be honest. Because you would have had the G sets still running to this modern day. They would have just had to be making right now another intercity, or not intercity, but another suburban as well. But yeah. But yeah, be interesting what happened if those 50 V sets were ordered. How this sort of could change the future of the V sets and City Rail. Would that mean no Oscars ever getting produced? I'd be happy if that happened because I don't like the Oscars. I think the crappy trains. The seating is appalling. It's like sitting on cardboard fucking... I don't mind my language. It's like sitting in a cardboard box. Pretty much sitting in a cardboard box on the grass. Pretty much that's what it reminds me of. Nothing comfortable. And I don't know why they're doing Newcastle all stop stations these days to Central, because I could not bear sitting in them for that far for three hours. Well, I mean, the V sets, they do have there's some issues with the V sets. Wheelchair accessibility is an issue. I agree. There is an issue, but I find them more comfortable. And I'd rather be sitting in comfort than with a friggin' sore back sitting on cardboard for 3 hours. I'd rather be sitting in comfort. Comfort, people. I understand. I reckon you can get a wheelchair on a normal V-set. It's just going to be a slow flow of traffic because you can only fit the wheelchair through the door at a time. And yeah. And yes, the toilets are an issue too. The toilets are tiny. It's like hopping into a matchbox. Yes, I will admit that. But I've thought of an experiment too. I wouldn't be curious if they tried to couple two S-set trailer cars to a V-set, completely refurbish them, have the V-set seating in them, and also a disabled toilet in them. Just so, yeah. It might not work. It could be a project they could try in the future. Keep these trains in service longer. I would like to see these trains in service longer for at least another 20 years, but I don't think that'll ever happen. These are very good trains. It'd be sad to see them go, I reckon. It'd be very sad to see them go. Anyway, I'm getting off topic, so I want to talk into the next bit, which will be the overhauls. Okay, in 1993, distinctive gold-tinted windows were replaced by charcoal ones. So they're the black ones you see these days. Starting in May 1995, the early carriages were overhauled by Gowennan and Co. in Broadmeadow as a part of the City Decker program. That's the big program. Everyone would have had the City Decker program in the 90s. This would have been before I think they were preparing them for the 2000 Olympics, because they wanted to have state-of-the-art decent trains running, pretty much, I'd say. I don't know why during this project they put aircon in the K sets, but S-sets, I reckon the S-sets could have had aircon in them, and then there wouldn't be such a big rush to shoot them out the door, really. The S-sets, I know people hate them, but fuck, man, they're more reliable than a Waratah. Waratahs, I've seen a few Waratahs break down. I think I've seen a few Oscars break down too. So I've seen Tangara had to run an Oscar service because the Oscar broke down. So yeah, you'd be surprised that reliability, modern stuff doesn't have much reliability. So yeah. So this saw the DCMs receive driver cab air conditioning destination indicators of ditch lights, which were not already fitted. The fiberglass end were repainted grey and yellow. This was later changed to the blue and yellow in 2009. Eventually all cars were put through the program, with those with yellow interiors being refurbished in the same cream interior with green seat style as the older cars. On July 1st, 2013, refurbishment of 200 intercity V-set cars were announced as part of the City Rail, Trainslink and Sydney Trains restructure and branding. Refurbishments mostly notable included new carpets and seat covers themed in bush plum. The internal livery of the trains also changed to a grey, red and yellow scheme. So everyone called it the cheeseburger train or something like that at one point when they first entered this refurb. In service, when introduced, the VSETs operated interurban services from the Sydney Central on the main northern line to Gosford and on the main western line to Mount Victoria. It wasn't until the 10 tunnels west of clearance were lowered in 1978 that they were able to operate to Lithgow. So technically the new inner cities can operate to Mount Victoria, but they'll need a VSET to pretty much run to Lithgow or whatever. Following the extension of the electrified network, their sphere of operation was extended to Wyong, April 1982, Newcastle, June 1984. It was good to see on those vlogs that I watched, the Sydney Trains blog and Transport for New South Wales vlogs, that I saw the VSET was the final train to leave. They had to do that because I feel VSET was the first train to run the line when the line was electrified in June 1984. And the VSET should have been the last train to run that line before it got ripped up. That's just my opinion, guys. And it went to Port Kembla February 1986, Dapto January 1983, Kiama November 2001. From 2012, VSET ceased operating on the South Coast services. In 2015, it was announced that retired cars consisting of 8038, which is the oldest CIM car in service, 9031, which I think is the oldest DCT car in service, 9040 and 8040 would make the new set named V27, which you have all seen in service now. The previous V27 was a chopper set, but was transferred to the bottom of the list as V51. My question is, would they make another set to make it like sort of even? So an extra V set, so have V28 moved to V52. It's curious to see that. This entered service in late April, early May 2015. Now this is probably something you might want to hear. Incidents. Okay. First on the incident board is DCM 8027. Was rebuilt after an incident at Katoomba with the DK series V sets. So that was getting repaired while the DK series V sets were getting built. DCF 8004 on 16th of January 1976. A 6-car set broke down at Glenbrook. Locomotive 4623 struck the rear car, killing one passenger and injuring several others. DCM 8030 was written off after an accident near Emu Plains in September 1985. DIM 8048 was written off after an accident at Springwood in September 1987. DJM 8107 was written off after an accident at Lawson in November 1989. DIM 8037, which was the oldest DIM car at the time, was written off after an accident at Katoomba in January 1990. So that means V27 has the oldest DIM car in service, so you know now. DIM 8060 was written off after the Cowan rail accident in May 1990, and there is, if you want to watch it, I believe there is news snippets of it on YouTube. So if you want to have a look, I recommend you have a look. And DIM 8067 on December 2, 1999. Sorry for this VSET car, because it was never the same after this accident. It collided with the rear car carrier of an Indian Pacific in Glendon in the Glenbrook train disaster, rebuilt as DIM 8020, while the second carriage DCT 9034 was rebuilt as DET 9216. And that is the train we all know now that is coupled onto V2. This is my opinion why V2 has to be entered, should be stored, because it is a part of history, I feel, in accidents. I don't know why, but that DET 9216 is, I find, a very important car in the history of the VSETs. I reckon it should have been kept. DCM 8028 was written off after being crushed by falling trees at Medlow Bath in July 2011. I believe that was a part of a V13 at the time, and I think that was not long after it did its tour run, which they used they did a VSET tour run in 2011, doing all stations around the city network. Then Here's the model one you would have heard of, the Sydney Trains Vlogs and Transport for New South Wales Vlogs channel. V40 and V48 collided with each other at Mount Victoria in July 2015. Since then, the two cars of V40 DKM 8144 and DKT 9190 and V40 DJM 8113 and DET 9147 are temporarily written off for repairs. Damaged cars is known as the new V40, while the other cars in V40 and V48 resume service known as V48. Okay. Withdrawal. The remaining 15 original series cars were withdrawn in late 2005, but there's two rumours going around saying 2002. I believe they all got taken out of service in 2005 due to the corrosion in the underframes, which meant that more G-sets had to run more intercity services. I think a couple of them had to run down to Newcastle and back. I'm not exactly sure on that. I believe most of them just went to Weil until the Oscars started entering service very late 2006. These cars had a low carbon milled steel underframes instead of the stainless steel used on the later batches. DMT9204 was subsequently destroyed in an emergency service training exercise on 25th of November 2008. So that was pretty much the last Series 1 car. I was disappointed. I wish they just kept it set in storage, because it would have been good as a part of history. But what can you do now? It's happened. In January 2011, an additional 25 Oscar Haystack cars were ordered to replace the 1977 batch of the VSET cars. However, some remained in service and were put through the refurbishment program in 2014. Like, for example, V21 is in service. In May 2014, the state government announced the intention to purchase 520 new carriages for the New South Wales Trainslink intercity network, with the deliveries to commence in 2019. The dreaded loss that these trains will replace the VSETs. My issue with these intercity, if the government is going to buy them off the shelf, I'm going to be very pissed off, and it's going to be a disgrace to the VSETs. I'm telling you, a disgrace. You know why? Because every single set, right, were built in Australia. Now, notice with each set of the trains, right, there was one feature taking off the old trains that was put into the new trains. For example, I looked in the VSETs. The VSETs had the U-set target plate, or also some door handle fixtures as well. And yeah, I just feel it's sort of wrong if they're going to do that. I feel because this new intercity, right, has a lot of heavy load and has to lift up to the work of the older brother, the VSET. I'm going to say that, and also the U-sets. They got a lot of hard, heavy lifting to do. Tell ya. But everyone knew this day was going to come. Eventually, they are going to get phased out of service. But unfortunately, it's happening sooner than we think. It's going to be soon. It could happen. It's going to be happening. You think about it, by the time it reaches 2019, it'll be tomorrow. 2019 is approaching very fast, people. I mean, very fast. We don't want that to happen. We want it to be, yeah. Well, I don't want, but yeah. Fortunately, it's going to happen, guys. It's a shame that I believe they've cancelled it now. I've heard, but they should be built in Australia, the new inner cities at least. I reckon at least take the seating from the VSETs and put them in there. We can have VSET style seating, the comfort, because you can't have Oscar style seating in there. It just doesn't work. The Oscars are so uncomfortable. I mean, uncomfortable. But yeah, and then you also got Y sets, which are pretty much the 6 cars from the third batch that have been converted into test trains to test trial the automatic train protection system and digital train radio system across the electrified network. DJM 8121, 8127, 8128 and 8134 and DIT 9127 and 9131 have been formed into two sets numbered Y1 and Y2. They are fitted with computers and test equipment. And several CCT cameras and small kitchens in the trailer cars. Now guys, that's pretty much it of this documentary. I'd say I might as well do the Intercity series. So hopefully, if this video picks up with a lot of views, I'll do one of the G sets. I'll do next video for you. So this is the intercity trains in the history. I'm not going to go into locomotives and all that. I might set, depending on how this series goes, I'm not a lot of the history, but see how this one goes. I'll probably do all the electric trains in the network. So, yep. So I just want to thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. And I just want you to keep watching, because I will put some pictures, a couple pictures of the V sets during its time, interiors, yeah. Just so hopefully you guys can enjoy this, because you got to remember, guys, these trains won't be around forever. And if we keep uploading these videos and stuff to YouTube, so everyone can see them and go, wow, well, these trains have done so much for us. They got us around for so many years. They are a part of Australian history, guys. They will be. So when I want to keep this. I want to keep pictures of these trains, right? Because I want to show my grandchildren, my children, my grandchildren, great grandchildren. I want them to show their kids. So these trains will always live on in memory forever. So yeah, bye for now, and I'll see you in the next video. Have a great night.